Hello friends, Namaste. Today we are going to discuss MAPC course block 3 of IGNOU students. In the first presentation we were discussing the concept and definition of personality and of course the stages of personality development. In the second part of my presentation, we examined a bird's overview. We have seen the type theory and the psychoanalytic theory of Sigmund Freud. In today's presentation, we will see some of the allied branches of psychoanalytic theory. See, the first theory we are going to examine is Carl Gustav Jung's Analytical Psychology theory of personality. Carl Gustav Jung was an associate, a close associate of Sigmund Freud. He was once one of the leaders of psychoanalytic society. Because of some differences of opinion, Freud was very rigid with his view. He didn't want to dilute his concepts. But Jung, he was equally interested not only in psychiatry, but also in anthropology, archaeology, theology, literature, and so forth. A person with versatile interests. So he had some differences of opinion and he disagreed with Freud and parted from Freud and established his own personality theory. We call it analytical psychology. The next one is Alfred Adler's theory of individual psychology. We will see the first one, analytical psychology. The first major differences of opinion was with respect to Freud's concept of unconscious. Freud believed and propagated personal unconscious. Unconscious having the deposit of the repository of all our personal experiences, reservoir of personal experiences. Whereas Jung believed that there are deeper and deeper layers of unconscious. He talks about racial unconscious. It's also called collective unconscious. We inherit from our great-great-grandfathers who lived hundreds of years ago in the forests. Their mode of thinking, their mode of reacting to a situation, their beliefs we are inheriting. And this constitutes the deeper layer, the racial unconscious, the collective unconscious. So, unconscious itself is subdivided into personal unconscious and collective unconscious. This is a major difference. Another difference is, he believed that in the collective unconscious or racial unconscious, there are archetypes, not simply that libidinal and instinctual energy, archetypes. These archetypes can be brought into the conscious level and it can be analyzed, he believed. Archetypes are the primordial archetypes, it is called. Primordial archetypes means the primary modes of our thinking, our feeling, our reaction, our sense. So this is another personal differences of opinion with Freud. The third one, he believed that just like id, ego, superego, the Freudian concept, he believed that ego has some other aspects. He calls them the persona, the shadow, and anima, animus, something like that. We will see each one. The fourth point of difference, we are now talking only about the differences of opinion, was about libidinal orientation. Freud believed that libido is sexually oriented, libido is aggressive oriented, death oriented, whereas Jung believed that libido orientation, depending upon the stages of development, varies. In the during childhood, the child is play oriented. His libidinal energy will be directed towards play, Jung believed. During adolescence and adulthood, it will definitely be oriented towards sex. And during old age, will be becoming more spiritual, and our libidinal energy will be oriented towards spirituality. See, this orientation reminds me of Adi Shankara's libidinal orientation theory. I would call it libidinal orientation theory. In his Bhaja Govindam, Adi Shankara talks about, the shloka is like this. Balasthavat krida sakta, tarunasthavat taruni sakta, vruddhasthavat chinda sakta, parame brahmani kopi na sakta. I hope you will understand the meaning. For those who don't understand Sanskrit, I shall translate it. Balastavat krida sakta. Krida means play. Asakri means this attraction. Balastavat krida sakta. Children are, their libidinal energy, their psychic energy is oriented towards play. Play is not a time pass for children. It is something serious they are engaging in. Right? Tarunastavat. Taruna means youth. Taruni sakta, the youth. Taruni means female. The male will be attracted to the heterosexual. He refers to the tendencies will be there during the second stage of life. And the last stage, vruddhasthavat, the old aged persons, they are spiritually oriented. Chinda sakta. Chinda means spiritual thoughts. Not about thoughts of our Trumps and Modi's political ideas. No, not at all. Chinda sakta, spiritual orientation. And Shankara also adds, Parame Brahmani kopi na sakada. Those who have attained that Brahma, that position, the higher level, they don't have na sakta, they don't have any asakti, any attraction towards anything. Anyway, these are the major points of difference. In his theory, Jung says that the persona, that's a very important concept. The persona, the ego has several subsections. Ego is the conscious functioning of the individual. The individual's behavior is not simply impulsive and instinctive. A person has the right, the freedom, and he can control, he can decide whether to be or not to be. This is, of course, a difference of opinion with Freud. You can see Freud believed that the behavior is impulsive, instinctive, and ego later on controls it. Instead, Jung believed that man has authority, man has the power, man has the freedom to decide whether to do it or not to do it. That is what he called persona. Shadow. He believes that shadow are the archetypal form of the unconscious, in which we have our anxieties, agony, sometimes, aspirations. We have beliefs in Buddha, Preta, your spiritual, these haunting spirits, apparitions, ghosts. These are all constituting the dark side of our psyche. This is shadow. The next concept is, in every individual's personality, there is an element of the opposite sex. What I mean is, in man, in his personality, there will be some elements of the female personality. This is called anima. Anima is the female aspect in the male personality, whereas animus is the male characteristics in the female personality. This also reminds me about an Indian concept of Ardhanarishwara. In certain temples in South India, you can see half of the idol is male, half of the idol is female. Ardhanarishwara. Man is basically having all these characteristics. This is what this Jung believed. So, this is one of the aspects. The second one aspect of he highlights is about the characteristics of persons, traits of persons. He has classified personalities to some extremes like introversion and extraversion. Introversion is, this is again libidinal orientation. So introverts, I'll put here extraverts. Introverts, they have their libidinal energy directed towards themselves. Introverts have their libidinal energy directed towards themselves. Whereas, in the case of extraverts, their libidinal energy is discharged outside. These persons likes loneliness. They don't like to share their views with others. They have their own ideals. They want to remain reserved. They don't like to share their belongings with others. They are inwardly thrust. Their libidinal energy is inwardly thrust. Whereas these persons, they enjoy outgoing. They will poke their bloody nose in others' affairs. They enjoy having friends and relatives all around them. They are uncomfortable in loneliness. While these people enjoy reading in isolation, reading, preparing notes, these people enjoy in group projects, exchanging one's views with others, sharing others' views. These are two extremes. These are traits. Of course, in the trait theory, we will talk about it again. And this exists in a continuum. So this is introversion, this is extraversion. Okay. An individual's position will be somewhere around here. Suppose a person is towards this end, this is the person. He is regarded as an introvert. If his position is somewhere here, he is regarded as an extrovert. And many people, like you and me, we are ambiverts because we share both the characteristics. On some occasions, we behave like introverts. Imagine a situation. You are entering in a seminar hall. Some dignitaries, high scholars from various parts of the country have assembled in the seminar hall. You are entering there and you are offered a seat, you occupy your seat. You have some ideas to reveal. How will you behave? You will be inhibited. You will be hesitant, right? We hesitate to encroach in certain areas. We behave like an introvert. We are confining everything to ourselves. Whereas, imagine another situation. The same person, you yourself, are among your friends. You are discussing about, your discussion is based on a film recently you watched. How will you behave? Or there is a political issue, recent political issue. You are having a discussion based on that. What will be your reaction? You will be reacting like an extrovert. You will argue, you will quarrel with some others. Okay? So we share both these characteristics. Therefore, we are called ambiverts. But some will be slightly inclined to this side, some will be inclined to the other side. This is measurable. But the problem is, if a person crosses this boundary and his position is somewhere here, he is schizophrenic. We call him catatoniac. Catatonia is a type of schizophrenia. So it's totally secluded, sitting, bending down for months together in the corner of the room. Such type of schizophrenia are there. So the boundary is closed. And if a person closes the boundary here, suppose here is the position. See, he is beyond that level. He is called megalomaniac. Megalomania means belief that I am inconvincible. Nobody can defeat me. I am the authority. Nobody can question me. Alexander is supposed to have this megalomaniac tendency. He believed that nobody could defeat him. That was how, with his 3,000 soldiers, he attacked Darius, the Persian king, who had 30,000 soldiers. And Alexander, it is reported, Alexander was believed to have megalomania. Some people around us are megalomaniac. They believe that they know everything. They see, unfortunate. So this is a tendency of mania. Mania is a mental disease. So this is a very important concept proposed by Jung. And we cannot prolong Jung's theory further. And we are closing it here. And we are going to the next theory. The next theory is proposed by Alfred Adler. As an Austrian psychologist. Of course, he also was an associate of Sigmund Freud. As was mentioned earlier, he had some differences of opinion with Freud. Even though he was the president of the Psychoanalytic Association, he parted Freud. He was a genius. He had his own ideas. And he believed that his psychology is called, his personality theory is called individual psychology. It is called individual psychology because of his belief that man can determine his destiny. There is a very famous quotation of Alfred Adler. I think every one of us have to remember this. You are the architect of your own destiny. You are the architect of your own destiny. We are not simply impulsively behaving. We are not the product of our unconscious. Our behavior is the product of unconscious. This is the concept of Freud, we have seen. It is a product of our libidinal energy, egoistic. This is so many things we have seen already. I am not going to that aspect again. But he believed that the social, cultural, particularly familial influences makes a person to think differently, uniquely. He talks about unique self, unique style of life. Style of life. It's unique. One cannot be compared with another person's, one's personality cannot be compared with another person's personality. This uniqueness is created. Even the birth order in the family is a crucial factor in determining this coping strategies with mother and other senior members in the family that determines how to react to situations in later life. So there is a kind of a fixation here again. There is a fixation of the early childhood experiences influencing the person. And he believed that the vital motivating force of life is not libido. See the difference. Adler believed that the vital motivating force is not libido. Instead, it is the feeling of inferiority. Every child in the early stages of life feels inferior to parents, inferior to elders. Elders can do so many things we cannot do. And this is with respect to all the aspects of life, not only sexual, all the aspects of it. He finds that the adult members can perform better in various activities, and they are bigger, they are stronger, they can do many things. They are capable of doing far more better things. The child has a feeling of inferiority. And there is a natural tendency to compensate. This is an important term. Compensate this inferiority. How the inferiority can be compensated? By striving for superiority. This is the motivating force of life. Striving for superiority. And this is influenced by even the birth order. Perhaps from his own personal experiences of his childhood, he might have developed this theory. He believes that even primogeniture means being the first child, the state of being the first child in the family. But primogeniture is a decisive factor in determining personality. The eldest one in the family, he'll be given more responsibility and he will feel that he is a protector, he has some authority upon others. Even this primogeniture is an important factor in shaping the unique style of life. See, okay, there is time constraint. So this individual's decisions, individual's experiences, individual's way of dealing with things, the extent of the intensity of his own inferiority, the coping strategies which he adopts to compensate this inferiority. What are his goals? He can set his goals. He can set his goals. He is the architect of his own destiny. He is setting goals. The ego ideals he can set. And how he attains that ego ideal. This makes a person, an individual's personality. You understand why it is called individual psychology. It is not racial factors as decided by Jung. It is not unconscious libidinal factors as decided by, as propagated by Freud. It is individual's own. I think this has very much a relevance in our day-to-day life, today's competitive society. Adler classifies individuals' personality into 4 types. There are 4 types of individuals around us. The first type is the ruling type, the dominant type, the authoritative type, the demanding type. They will ask others to obey them and they will be happy there. They are authoritative. The rulers, they are the rulers. Even in a family setup, they will be ruling type. In the company of friends, these people will assert more. The assertive, the demanding. They like others to obey them, right? Many of our political leaders belong to this. I don't want to mention any name. The next one is the learning type. They are more dependent. They are more susceptible to others' suggestions. They are imitating others. They oblige to others' demands. I think many of our civil service officials and bureaucrats can be classified into this. I don't mean to elaborate it, exaggerate it like that. There are some persons like that. In spite of their high education and they are capable of learning well, benefiting out of learning, see, they will be learning better than the politicians. You know, there is a saying, the last bencher becomes the politician and dominates the first benchers who are becoming IPS and IAS officials. Anyway, they are learning type. Those who benefit more from observing others, imitating others, accepting the suggestions, they are highly susceptible to the suggestions given by others. That is called a learning type. The next type is avoiding type. Avoiding type means they want to escape from all. They are secluded. They are very comfortable in their own specified world. Like a conch in its own shell, hiding in its own island, you know. The people are like that. They are keeping away from everything, every responsibility, every challenging situations. It's escaping type. And social type. I put a star here because these are the individuals, social. They don't want authority, but they have altruism basically governing their behavior. They are more concerned about the social aspects, the benefit of others, the welfare of others. They'll go to any extent for service to humanity in various ways. We have environmentalists, we have social workers, we have people like Father Damien, so many others, Florence Nightingale, Mother Teresa, or Baba Amte. So many persons are there. See, with this type, they cannot be pacified simply by escaping responsibility. They will have prick of conscience when they are. See, they are not dominant. They don't want any authority, any power. They are not power seeking. So I put star deliberately. So this is how Adler perceives the concept of personality. Okay, we are closing here. Of course, there are other aspects of other sub-theories of psychoanalysis, Sullivan, Erikson, so many other, even Anna Freud, but we cannot enter to all these aspects in detail now. Now we are going to discuss another personality theory. That theory is called the humanistic theory. See, the humanistic theory, the founders of humanistic theory are Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. Both were American psychologists. This, therefore, is sometimes called Rogerian school because Carl Rogers was the founder of this theory. Their theory is called humanistic theory, existential theory, phenomenological theory, self-theory, and also it is also called third force psychological theory. All the names are used interchangeably. Why it is called humanistic theory? Because they believed that human being is a dignified creation. A human being is the roof and crown of creation, capable of deciding his destiny, as Albert Adler has early seen. He is a creator, he is creative, he is free. Of course, this is because of the influence of the existential philosophy also of those days. Being worried about human existence, about human freedom, about exploitations. So, human being is a free being, a responsible being, a potential being, a creative being. This is the guiding principle of this philosophy, this school of psychology, and their theory of personality is based on that. See, this is called phenomenological theory because they emphasize perceiver's point of view rather than observer's point of view. Many people judge others based on their observation. They can interpret based on their own perceptive, their own past experience, their own views and ideals. We judge others. This is not proper. Putting ourselves in the shoe of others and perceiving the world as they perceive it. Empathizing. going down to their level of thinking, their mode of interpreting things. This is far more important. That is called phenomenological. How a person interprets, how the person perceives point of view. I will give an example and make it clear. Suppose parents claim that, oh, I treat all my children, we treat all our children equally, right? I had this experience earlier, therefore I am saying. One rebellious girl, a college girl, was brought to me for some counseling. And parents were reporting that even the name of their house is the name of this girl. She is the second daughter in the family. Her elder daughter was married from a very well-to-do family. She became a very rebellious person at home, creating all sorts of problems. And when talked to her, I understood that she feels partiality. For every this and that, my parents are consulting the elder sister who is already married. I am staying with them. Why can't they ask me? I have my personal interest. I am an elder voter. Likewise, she was very, very, in a provocative way, she was talking to me. See the difference. Observer's point of view, parents' point of view, perceiver's point of view. This may happen. So, humanistic psychology emphasizes the perceiver's point of view. Therefore, it is called phenomenological psychology. It is called self-theory because instead of using the word personality, they are using the word self. Because the self, the concept of self, makes a person's personality. There are three aspects in self. One is the ideal self. Ideal self means we want to become like so and so. Because of our experiences ever since childhood, we have some ideal personalities to imitate. We want to become like that. So this is what you want to become. Okay? This is real self. What you actually are. I want to become the Prime Minister of India, but I don't have any qualities to become the Prime Minister of India. That is the real me. But my ideal is, that's the difference, you see. What's real me? With his constraints, with his limitations, with his capabilities. Yeah, both sides. The capabilities, what resources are there. The self-concept. Based on these two, so I will diagrammatically put it and make it clear. This is ideal self. This is what you want to become. Ideal self. This is real self. You see, the overlapping is only negligible overlapping. Only this is coping with reality. He wants to become this, but he has the resources only. See, what he actually is this. The overlapping is very negligible. So, the self-concept is defective. Self-concept, one's estimation about oneself. If this overlapping can be made more, say for example, now you see these much areas, there is reality, there is realistic self-estimation. So In the case of a maladjusted person, this is an adjusted person. The former diagram represents a maladjusted person. See, some will have a doubt. Why can't there be 100% overlapping? It is unlikely. My perception about myself, what you think about me, how do you estimate me, I have perception about that. Do you think it will be perfect? It will be 100% sure? There's a very probability that there are certain areas which I am not capable of perceiving. The major problem with us is when others point out something about us, we are becoming aware of that. Okay, so the therapist's duty is to make the overlapping more. A maladjusted person becoming. And when this is here, of course, we have a self-concept. So, self-concept is in fact the realistic perception of an individual, awareness of his goal as well as awareness of his limitations and potentialities, and having a realistic perception about oneself. This is an integrated personality. So this is self-theory. The third point also I want to emphasize in their theory is that they call this theory as third force psychology. Not they, the critics later on uses this adjective. The third force psychology. Why? Behaviorism being the first force. So I am putting the short form. The next one is psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis. I am putting the short form. And the third one is humanistic. Broad classification. The behaviorism and cognitive psychology, both belong to this. Cognitive psychology. You know, in behaviorism, most of the experiments were conducted in animals and subhuman beings. Animal studies. And almost all the behaviorists believed that human being is a biological animal. Right? Biological animal. Of course, in the biological perspective, this is true. But we know that the human being's way of thinking, way of imagination, capability of using language, so many attributes are there which animals don't have. Our thinking style is different. We feel differently. Have you heard any animal committing suicide? But many learned persons commit suicide. So I am not entering to that. Okay? And this is a negativistic view of personality. A negativistic view about human nature. Here, psychoanalysis. Their studies were conducted on psychotics and neurotics. Freud and other psychoanalysts conducted the study not on healthy individuals, but on hospitalized psychotics and neurotics. And the major point of their this argument they proposed was is a libidinal being. Libido is the. So this is also a negative view of human life, human nature. But as humanist psychologists conducted a study in self-actualized individuals. This is the difference. Self-actualized, fulfilled, those who have attained that level of fulfillment. Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow studied so many great individuals, statesmen, poets, philosophers, artists who fulfilled they attained that level of self-actualization, that fulfillment. Their own joyous, ecstatic way of experiencing that level of sublime level of performance, that is their study, their subject matter, of course, and their belief about human nature is human being is a dignified being, free being, creative being. See the difference. This is the positive view about human nature. I don't mean to say that this has to be ruled out and only this has to be relied upon. No. All theories have their own contribution, imitatable contribution. With one more point, we are going to close today's discussion. The next point related to this humanistic psychology is about their view on human needs. Abraham Maslow, one of the pioneers, believed that the human needs can be classified into deficiency needs and being needs. Deficiency needs. It is called a hierarchy of needs because it is starting from the basic need, basic or primary or biological need. Starting from this basic biological need, this is also called self-preservative need. Unless you satisfy these needs, you cannot exist. The need for food, the need for water, for oxygen, the need for clothing, especially in European countries, need for clothing, etc., etc. So from this basic need, unless the self-preservative need, unless this is satisfied, no question of existence. The next comes the security need. Or safety needs. Security. This has two phases, Then one is physical security, the other is emotional security. It's not simply enough that a person is physically secure. You should feel that he is secure. I usually quote the example of a child who is confined in an orphanage. In an orphanage, there are excellent buildings, timely, nutritious foods, even doctors visit the hospital regularly, they have good dress, everything is there. They are physically secure. But a child who is half-fed, who is hungry, who is in a beach slum, beside the beach you can see slums, and embracing its mother and sleeping, see, he is emotionally secure, though not physically secure. An official who is very secure, is paid well, and his superior officers have no differences of opinion about his performance, he is physically secure. Suppose he has a feeling that going to be terminated, people are, he is a paranoid patient, He believes that people, his fellow men are gossiping against him, they are planning to terminate him. Suppose he is becoming emotionally secure. This is an important need. The next in the hierarchy is affiliation need. Affiliation. Or we call it belongingness. Yeah, the third one. We want to affiliate ourselves with someone or somewhere, something. We want to belong to. I am so and so is my father, so and so is my mother, and I so and so. Even though there is no such relatives, we say the present collector of our district is my mother's younger brother's father-in-law's elder brother. We want to affiliate, we want to relate. I belong to this organization. That means don't touch me, I am feeling secure. I belong to this organization. It's a powerful organization. And I remember once I was interacting with college teachers in academic staff college. When I asked them about their whereabouts, a person stood up and said, "I'm a product of Cambridge University." Oh, I was so how proud he used to announce it. That belongingness, So we want to belong. That is it's a vital need. Okay, next. The love is the basic love. Only if you are being loved, you will have this belongingness at home, at workplace, everywhere. Next is esteem needs. Esteem, self-esteem, success. You want to attain success. Success is there, approval will be there, recognition will be there. Only success, achievement, recognition will add to self-esteem. This is a human need, right? Next is cognitive needs. We want to know further, we want to explore, we want to spend our time in the library, we want to enhance the horizon of knowledge, we want to explore more on the internet and enrich ourselves. This knowledge, a hungry person, a person devoid of these vital needs, having not fully satisfied, cannot yearn for developing his knowledge further. The next need is called aesthetic need. The need for appreciation of poems, listening to song, engage in that kind of aesthetic activities. This is not simply occurring, A hungry person cannot think of rejoicing with some music or for him, even a loaf of bread appears in the form of God, there's a saying, before the hungry man. So a sleepless person, a hungry person devoid of the basic facilities, cannot engage in aesthetic activities and appreciate them. So that is a need. This is a being need, And last one in the hierarchy, the apex. This is self-actualization. And this self-actualization is also called the peak experience by Maslow. This is called the peak experience. This is uniquely experienced. This cannot be shared with others. This is a state of fulfillment, having achieved what we can achieve. That extreme satisfaction, that ecstatic joy that a person has as a result of. So this, if a person enjoys this, up to this level, he is called a self-actualized person. That is the goal of life. This is the best personality. To attain this level, there's no easy way to reach there. We cannot land there in a helicopter or an aeroplane. You have to climb steps by satisfy all these needs and reach there. And the top needs are called being needs. These are called deficiency needs. The most important difference is when a deficiency need is not met, it will lead to dissatisfaction. Person is unhappy. Person is feeling satiation once it is satisfied. Otherwise, he is feeling deficient. Cells become bodily metabolism also will be upset. A hungry person, a thirsty person, for example. Whereas these needs, once this need is aroused, it creates a pleasurable tension. If you want to know the answer of a riddle, of course, that if I want to get an appropriate word to fill that poem which I was writing, I have a pleasurable tension unless and until it gets. So that is the major difference. This creates uncomfortable consequences, whereas arousal of these needs becomes pleasurable. So a person, I sum up, a person who has attained this peak experience, self-actualization. May I add one more point? In Indian philosophy, there is another state. We call it a transcendental state, going beyond all this. Of course, that we cannot see at present include in this. Going beyond all this, whether you appreciate me, whether you criticize me, whether you sarcastically make remarks on me, I don't care. I have my own way. I am beyond all this. Suppose that is called a spiritual higher level, transcendental level. Anyway, our goal is to lead persons to this, to make the personality intact. And for which we have to see what are his ideal concept, ideal self, and what is his real self, how to overlap these two. Of course, with this we conclude today's presentation. I remember trait theory of personality is there, a very important theory. We will see it in the next occasion. Thank you for patiently listening, and please never hesitate to send your feedback. Thank you.